Welcome to 8 Unedited Minutes brought to you by the National Speakers Association of Illinois. Coaching as an addition to your speaking benefits your clients and benefits your business. What is it? Something you can do? Where do you start? Listen to the next 8 minutes and you will be on your way to deciding if including coaching in your business is for you. My guest, Kevin O'Connor, teaches graduate students at Chicago's Loyola University and speaks professionally to physicians and healthcare leaders 80 times per year. He has 3 master's degrees, is a certified executive coach, and has earned the CSP designation, Certified Speaking Professional. Fewer than 400 persons in the world hold this honor for speaking and teaching excellence. He says he is the happiest on back of a horse. We dive into topics such as how to get started in the coaching world, why you have a built-in coaching audience every time you speak, how to draft attractive coaching contracts, and more golden nuggets of advice. You're going to love this show. Kevin, thank you for making the time to do 8 Unedited Minutes for NSA Illinois. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome.
And I'd love to jump right in as far as, well, first of all, we're going to talk about some strategies and tips for coaching as an extra stream of income. As far as coaching, what's your story? How did you realize that to do above and beyond just speaking?
Well, I have a tendency to say yes as much as possible, unless it's a definite no. And so many years ago, I wrote a book that landed on a guy's desk right around 9/11, actually. And he hired me to train about 125 pharmacy people. And one day I was out there and they were in a group of discussing things. They were going to have about 25 meetings over the next 4 months where they were inviting doctors in. And one of them said, "I wish we could clone you." And I said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, we'd like somebody at each of these meetings and you can't be there." I said, "Well, it is Kevin O'Connor and Associates, And they said, "You have associates?" And I said, "Well, now what do you think here?" And that night, after 10 phone calls, I had 10 associates from NSA. So, and then it occurred to me, I can say yes to more. And then that first started not just speaking, not just consulting, not just having these people that were around the United States on certain weekends. It occurred to me that I could help the boss be a better boss. And so that's when I think the first glimmers of coaching happened. Recently, I went through the Center for Executive Coaching because I thought I've been doing this for a long time, but I really never learned how. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm a counselor, but I knew coaching was going to be different than that. So I entered into that certification with a couple of my doctor friends and one of my consultants. And that's kind of how it has ramped up a little bit more now into something a little more structured, maybe.
So if someone's watching right now and they're thinking, I do speaking, I love what you just said about coaching. What is the starting point of adding coaching to your speaking career?
Well, I think when you notice that the client might need more. Long time ago, Nito Cobain said to me, at the end of the presentation, when they're giving you the standing ovation and the meeting planner comes over and says, "That was wonderful," you're supposed to say, "Thank you, but I'm a little frustrated. I think we just touched the surface. Can we have a phone call next week and I can give you my impressions of your group?" Nobody's going to pass up that phone call. So, excuse me. So that's when it started to occur to me even more. The clients need more than a speech. You don't need a, quote, keynote speech. Greg Risberg, who used to be part of NSA Illinois, a fantastic speaker, he gave the same talk every single time. He said, "It's easier to find a new audience than to get new material." I think the word now is new material is definitely required, especially for the same audience that you want to go deeper with. You can give speeches, that's fine. But when you go deeper, you're going to have a more satisfying experience. You get to use your expertise and you can charge more money for that than hopping around speech to other people. And so that's, and then you can do private coaching as well, if you want. One of the nice things about coaches is they talk about money. Speakers don't talk about money with one another. talk about it all the time. Uh, they don't care. So it's fairly unregulated. I think it's a good idea to get trained. There's
Mhm.
about 1,000, I think 800 or 900 training organizations like the Center for Executive Coaching or any of those places that they're all about the same price to get trained. But what it does is it really gives you a firm understanding of my role as a coach. And the more that you're a good, the more that works for you, the more business you'll get because people will see results.
Well, it sounds like if I hear you right, the good news is that if someone's successfully speaking as a career, it sounds like to get started in coaching, maybe a certification first, unless you're qualified, like you mentioned, like a
Yeah.
therapist or something. But
Yep.
it sounds like they have to get jump started, they have a built-in audience by having the conversation after the speech. Would that be right?
Absolutely. When you think about, you have a conversation with the client and then you're not supposed to quote fees in that first thing. You say, how about if I send you a summary of what we talked about? I can include the fees and all that contract stuff. And they said, that's great because they don't want to deal with it at that moment. They just want to know that you know the objective. So then you send them an email that recounts your conversation. And then you add in some stuff that says, included in this contract would be 10 coaching sessions for you or for your staff or anybody you think. And so immediately, just in accepting the contract, they're accepting you as a coach.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
so that way you have a little deeper understanding. The other thing is, I always, whenever I have a new client, I say, can I interview about 8 or 10 of the people that are going to be in the audience prior to the program? Would you do that? I'd be happy to do that. Of course, I want to do that. I want at least 8 or 10 friends in the audience who are not saying, who is this guy? I want 8 or 10 people to say, this guy called me. He gave a talk the other day. They're going to tell 4 or 5 other people. So now I've got an audience that is already kind of happy about me. And usually about the fifth or sixth call that I make, I find
Mhm.
out something like, our boss is talking about leaving next month and everybody's whacked out about it. Well, that's gold. I don't talk about it during the talk, but it's very helpful to have that inside information. So I think you can include it in your contracts. And at first, just include it. I mean, you don't even have to say, and it will cost this much. I usually have this, this blah, blah, blah. And I said, I've already included a courtesy discount for you. As soon as I say that, they don't even ask what the courtesy discount is. They just say, thank you for the discount. You're welcome. And
Oh
then we
my
don't
gosh.
negotiate money. So, but I've included it and I've included the coaching piece as well. And if somebody calls me and says, would you coach me? I had somebody the other day said, would you coach me in being a coach? Sure, I'd be happy to. And then you figure out what's the cadence you want to do, how much per month, and all that kind of stuff. But you're not going to get rich being a coach only, in the same way that you're not going to get rich being a counselor or a therapist only, because you're trading, what do they call it? Trading time for money.
Mhm.
When you build it into your speaking contracts, now all of a sudden things are very different because you'll be charging more money for that, and they think of it as a really good investment, which it is because it's part of your training with them. It's part of your speaking.
We have covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. If someone's watching and listening in right now and they say, I want to get into coaching,
Yeah.
what would you say if you were to say, at least if you're speaking now, at least do this one thing to get started, at least this one thing, what would you tell them to do?
Visit the Center for Executive Coaching website. It is a robust website. The guy who runs it is terrific. And just take a look at it and see if it looks like it's for you. And then hop around with some other ones, Coactive Coaching and a few other places that are training coaches, so that you get a sense of, oh, I start to understand what they're talking about here. So that would be the first thing I would recommend to people.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And if people want to find you online, where's the best place or places to go?
KevinOC.com. I'm also on LinkedIn 4 times a week, and happy to talk to anybody at any time. The email is kevin@kevinoc.com.
Thank you very much. This has been excellent.
Thanks, Mark. Great being with you. Thank you.
And scene.